Some call it turning, like turn. Some call it trim it. So the most popular will be trim it. So it's like as it is English, so the name explains itself. We're just taking off excess from something. So we're going to take excess from the works that we have been making. The more clay you have left around the bottom of your piece, the more excess you have to take off. Okay, if you have more and then you trim less, you're going to have it heavy. Okay, so before you put your piece on the wheel, try doing some assessment of how much clay you have approximately, so that you know how much you have to trim off. Okay, and then also trimming also affects the shape of your piece. So if you have your piece the straight, very something cylindrical, the outer wall should be cylindrical, and then the inner wall should also be cylindrical. So if you have the inner wall being diagonal like this, like a V, and then the outer side being straight, it means that the inside doesn't correspond with the outside. So if the inside shape is what you want, you have to trim the outside a little more. Okay, so before you put it on, assess it yourself, know how much clay you have to trim off. Okay, all right. So first, oh, it's not plugged. Please. All the wheel, this metal head on the wheels, they have some circles. So make use of those lines. Okay, so this is not big, so it fits into this first circle. So you try to position it as much as possible within the circle. So you first make sure the wheel is wet, and then the rim is also wet. Okay, and then you try as much as you can to put it in the middle. You can also, instead of just wetting this, you can also pour some, not too much. I'm just giving you two options so that you choose whatever works for you. You can also do this. This one, I'm a bit skeptical, but I have to show you. If you want to do this, please don't pour everything, just something small. And then you put this on, and then you do this until it gets stuck. Okay, so you have two options. One is just making sure it's wet, and then you put it in the middle. Or you make this a little wet, and then as you do this, it will get stuck, right? And then you leave it. Okay, now after you put it in the circle, you're not done yet. You need to check if it is centered. Okay, so this is almost centered, but if I want to, first option, you can hold any tool at all that can make a mark. You hold it still against the piece, okay, something close. All right, so if it is wobbling, the parts that are not in the center will hit your tool and will make a mark. Okay, so let's say I do this. Do you see the mark? Then I push from where the mark is. I push it away. Okay, so I push it slightly. Okay, just slightly, and then I'll do it again. I'll try again to see if it creates a straight mark. Then I can say it is centered. Even if it is not, it's about 98, 99%. Okay. The other option is, let me try and decenter it small a bit. Okay. The other option is to use the top part. You draw circles or a circle. So you put it on and then you look at the circle. Is the circle within the center of the piece? So when you look at this, one side is bigger than the other. Okay, so with the bigger part or the bigger side in front of you, you push a little away. Okay, and then you clean the circle and make another one. Okay, so this is almost in the middle. Okay, so if you want to go with this idea, make sure that before you take your piece off the wheel, alright, you have a very even bottom of your piece. Like, make sure you trim a little bit before you take it off. If it is crooked, you sit on this, you do this 100 times. Alright, it's going to give you a hard time. So before you take off your piece, make sure it is regular. It doesn't have an irregular shape. Okay. Alright, so this is centered. Now I still have to make sure it is secured so that it doesn't fly over. One option, you can have a coil, maybe a little bigger or smaller than this, depending on the piece and the weight of it. Okay, you can put a coil around the piece. So let's say let me try and make this a little wet, because if it is too dried, it's not going to stick. So I'll put the coil around. Okay, it goes all around, and then with one hand I hold this and then press the coil. Okay, I'm not pressing too hard against the work. I'm pressing a little less against the work and then harder against the head. Okay, so I do this. Okay, all around it. Now I'll be sure that it is stuck. It's not going to fly over. Okay. If you want, also you can have some pieces of clay, about 4 of them. Which should we still go with this? Okay, let me take it and then do that. You can take this. The other option is to have a small ball like this, or it can be small coils. Okay, and then you hold this and then you press. Okay, the pressing could be, if you're not sure, you just press down and then press up against the work slightly, not too much. If you press more, you can break the work, but you can press more when you're pressing against the metal. And then I turn it the opposite end. I do same. I press against the metal and then against the work. Alright? And then come to the other side. I do same. Okay, so you see, whenever I'm pressing, I make sure I hold this. If I don't hold it, I'll press and push it away from the center, and then that will bring me back to square one. Okay. There's also, you will see, and then you may come across a video where somebody, before they want to trim, their style of centering the clay or the work is by tapping. So they'll put it in the center, and then as it moves, they'll tap it. Okay, that you need some practice before you can do that. Because if you're not careful or if you're not used to it, you'll be tapping the same side, and then you keep pushing the work of the center. Okay. So for now, I want us to use these two. Okay. You can use this throughout or this throughout, or both of them. So you're going to create a foot. You can see the top is kind of, and one thing, if your rim is too uneven, okay, when you put the piece upside down, it's going to be tilted. So the centering is going to be difficult. So always make sure that the rim is straight, even if it is not 100%. It should be about 99, 98%, so that it will not be too slanted when you turn it upside down. Okay, unless if it is too slanted, you straighten it up and then maybe put some amount of clay. Maybe it's slanted this way, you can put some amount of clay to straighten it up. But if I don't think you have to go through that stress. Just make sure it is straight before you take it off the wheel. Okay, so I'm going to start straightening the top. Right, I always have to start in the middle. So this time around also, you can see my hand is always on my lap. I just want some stability. My hands have to be stable, the same way I was centering the clay when I started making. Okay, so one hand here, one there, or you can have your hands being supported by your body. So one hand, and then I can do this. Okay, I feel one is going to shake, all right, or it's going to wobble, or it's not going to be strong enough. So I add the other one. I put this in the center. You can use this side or this side. Okay, I put it in the center. I make sure it is stable, and then it makes a cut. Okay, so this is going to be my determinant. Like, this is the foundation. So I'm going to cut through across. So it's going to be like when you were opening your clay, you make the hole and then you open on a straight plane. Okay, that is what we are trying to achieve here. So the clay is going to try to push my hand or push the tool away. So I have to make sure the tool is stable so that the clay will be cutting off or will be trimmed off the excess. So I hold this, and then as I come, you see my hands are stable. Some parts of the clay, especially the parts that are higher, okay, will be trying to push the tool away. All right, but I have to stay firm, and then those higher parts will touch this, and then they'll trim off. If I loosen up my hand and go with the flow of the piece, I'm still going to get it wobbly, even though I'll be trimming. But we are trying to get it as straight as possible. It's not going to be 100%, but that should be your target. And also, I wasn't moving like this. I can do this. Okay, if I know that I can control the speed. And mostly, the faster it moves, especially when you're trimming, the easier it is. But if it should be moving faster, you should know that this is well secured. All right. So sometimes you will see, most times, if the piece is small, some people do this. So the hand will be some kind of a shield, and then the thumb will support the other hand. So in case this has to fly over, this could prevent it. It's not always 100%. Okay, so the top is done. The same way we're going to do to the side. Now we have the top straight, we have to straighten the side. Okay, so the same way I hold this straight, you see that some parts will kind of want to push the tool away, but I have to stay firm. So that those parts will touch it and then will get cut off. Okay. So like I said, you can use this tool also, especially on the side. You can use this. The same way, you have to make sure your hands are firm. Okay, so you hold the tool, your hand on the bridge, and then one hand, the other supports it. Okay, and then if you want to use this, you can. So you see that I'm cutting according to the shape or the contour of the inside. Okay, so if I have a rounded cup like this, okay, I have to cut according to the contour of the shape that I have. If I have it round and I cut it straight, I position this just cutting on one side straight up, I'm going to destroy it. Okay, so you go according to the contour, the flow of the cup. Okay, so with my cup, I was sure that I didn't have so much clay on the wall. Okay, so I'm not going to cut so much because the wall is already thin. Okay, so I may just be cleaning or giving some or defining the shape or the form that I have. I'm not necessarily going to cut it. Okay, but if I'm sure I have more here, I cut more. Okay, all right, so now we go to the foot ring. We have the side straighten up. Like I said, it's not going to be 100% straight, but it shouldn't be wobbling so much that it will throw you off. Alright, so we have the top straight, side straight up. So we are going to determine our foot ring. Okay, so I can make a mark as to where I want the foot to be and then how thick I want it to be. Okay, so this is how thick I want my foot ring to be. Okay, so I'm going to trim this in here and I'm going to trim the side also. Alright, I'll make another one and show you how, if you wish to make this outer side here your foot ring, you can also make it. Okay, so the same way I go into the middle, I cut through to a point, and also, yes, you have to know the amount of clay you left at the bottom of the piece so that you know how deep you have to cut. If you leave this and you want to cut like this, you're going to create a hole. Yes, so you'll be cutting, and then by the time you realize you can see through. In that instance, it means you have to go back to square one. Okay, so always know the amount and then know how much you have to cut. Okay, so I would suggest you leave something not less than, let's say, something a little above a quarter inch. Okay, so that at least you can cut about this off. Okay, so I make the hole and then I go, when I'm going to the right, or yes, mostly this is turning anti-clockwise, so I have to go to the right so that it cuts against the revolution. Okay, so when I'm going, I don't go, this shouldn't be too flat. I tilt it a little bit. Okay, at an angle so that it can have that space to cut up the clay. So I go all the way to where I drew the line. Okay, so any cut that I'm going to make here is going to be within the line. Okay, and then I start again, I go again, try to get it straight. Maybe one more time. Okay, and then you come back to the outside, still using the line that you have as your gauge or as your measure. So here you're just making sure the tool is flat, okay, because you're using the flat set. Okay, just on the line, and then it makes the cut for you. How deep you want to go also depends, again, how much clay you have. So I want to go a little deep. Okay, let's say this is how deep I want to go. And then now turn the tool on the other side and then try to straighten this up. Maybe I want to go again, I'll come back and go again. So the choice is yours. You can do whatever you want and whatever you like. So I go down, so I'm going to, the inside is kind of a little rounded. So I have to try to create that shape or that contour on the outside also. So try to round it. Always know your limit in terms of speed. But if the wheel is not moving, you're not going to get a clean cut. Okay, when you're trimming, the wheel should be moving, not too fast and not too slow. Okay, so this is what I want as the foot. You can clean the edges just so it's not straight or it's not sharp. Okay, and I can see I'm done. Or if I feel like it's have a little more, I can cut more just to make this a little taller. So that you have to be sure before you do that cut. Otherwise, you're going to destroy your piece. Know how much you left before you come to sit on the wheel. Alright? So let's say I want to do some burnishing here. Burnishing is basically me wanting to make it very smooth. So I'll use the sponge. Make sure it is a little wet. And then I can use, oh, this reminds me, please don't try this. Okay? Yes. If you feel like you need to take anything off, use the sponge to clean. Okay, because I've been cutting myself like 1,000 times trying to do this. Sometimes in the middle of everything you just forget yourself and then you kind of keep it yourself. Okay, so you can use this, and always, if you're not sure, use 2 hands so that you don't cut yourself or cut through the work. Okay, I feel like 2 hands is always the safest thing to do. So the wheel is moving this way, so you hold this at an angle against it, and then you put it against your piece. You see it's getting smoother, right? So you press against it. Also, it has to be according to the contour of your piece. Okay, so you go according to what you have. Any questions? If you want to maybe you want to create some lines or some shapes or some maybe let's say lines or some grooves or something, you can create them. Maybe I want to do, what should I do? Let's say I want to create some 3 lines here. Okay, it can just be a line with a tool. Okay, maybe this is what I want. And then I have some idea that I want to draw or do some patterns within the lines or something. I can use this as a gauge and do it. Or this could be part of my decoration. It's also allowed. Okay? Any questions? No? So that is why I said from the beginning, know how much clay you left. Okay, so if you're not too sure, you can just use the pin, okay, and then still test it for yourself. Okay, so let's say if this side is what I want to test, I can push the pin and then know how long it goes into. Okay, so about this. Okay, so put my finger somewhere here and then hold it and push it out. So this is how much I have. Okay, so know where you put the tool. I didn't put the tool right in the middle, so I have this thickness on this side. Okay, the middle part may not be exactly the same thickness. It could happen that you pushed your thumb so much in the middle. Okay, so to be safe, you can measure. Let's see, just try to remember this thickness with your eye. Okay, let's put it in the middle somewhere. Okay, so this is what I have. So it looks like the middle part is almost the same as on the side. Okay, so this is what I have. So it means that my foot, the foot that I will create, should be at least or at most about half of this height. Okay, so if I cut half it deep into this height, it means that I should be careful. Okay, is that okay? And then when you're done, you can just use one of your tools just to, oops, you can seal that small hole. You press or push against it just to seal it, and then you do same. Okay. Alright, so let me show you the other one and then I'll leave you. And then I'll keep this. I don't want to take all your time today. I'll keep this and then on Wednesday I'll show you how to make the handles. Okay, so that today you can make something. Alright, so this is going to be quick because I'm not going to start all over. Alright, so I said either you wet and then, oh, this is too much, and then you put it on, shake it back and forth until it gets stuck. So let's say about this, and then the rings should be your guide. This is almost centered. Okay, so I can come back, draw the circle and see it is almost centered. So I'll push it slightly. Okay, make sure the side is a little wet so that when I put this, it can hold it. You see that the head it's not too wet. Okay, if you put so much clay here, it's going to be very slippery and it'll fly off. So I hold this, press against it, hold this, press against, press against. You can also use the coil, press against it. Okay, so go from the middle to the right. Those who are left-handed, you may be going the opposite direction. You may be turning to this because your wheel will be moving this way. Okay, so I have the top part straight, then I'll work on the side. I do same, I hold it still, and then any parts that are high or wobbling will touch and make a cut, a clean cut for you. So this, I felt like I have too much here, or my target is to have a foot that will be about this, the small one, so I can cut so much to that end. So let's say I draw here, okay, and then let's see. So I'm going to cut all this off until I get that line. And then you can also, when you have it straight up, like the surface is turning very straight and clean, you can be trimming down or up. Okay, so you can start from the top here and then go down, or when you get down, you can, instead of coming back to start from the top, you can trim down and then come up. Okay, you can also use this because this gives you a very wider surface cut. I don't have so much clay on the side, so I'm not going to cut so much. If I'm going to make any cut, it's just going to be some cleaning. Okay, so I'll make another ring. So this time around I'm going to cut this off, trim this side off, and then I'll have this as my foot. Cut in the middle and then go to the side until I reach the line. Go again to the side, maybe one more time. And then so can we see the difference? Is that one? So you can see the difference here. Okay, this goes directly with the contour of the piece. This goes, hits, and then straight. So this has an angle, this doesn't have any angle. Okay, the same way if your piece is straight, if it is a cylindrical piece, you can still do this. So it goes all the way straight up, and then you have the foot, okay, coming all the way. Or you can go, all right. So any questions? Nope. Yes.
When we take off, after we finish drawing, we take off pieces. We should have a lot of clay around the bottom. said we want to make it even so that when we're straightening it out, we don't get thrown off and centering it. So how do you know how much clay to take off around the
Oh,
bottom?
so are you talking about when you're throwing?
Like right after you finish throwing?
So right after you finish throwing, I guess everybody has this kind of tool. Okay, so for instance, let's say this is the piece on the wheel. Before you take it off, you can use this tool. Okay, just hold it still against the edge of the bottom of your piece. Right, and then that will draw that line for you. Okay, so you hold this against, and it will be like you're cleaning off some excess, and then you get that line. Okay, if you don't do that cleaning, if you don't do that cleaning with this tool or any other tool that can make that cut for you, you're going to have it very spread out, and it'll be difficult to determine it when you come back to trim. So you can use this. Okay, I can show you when I see anybody with any thrown piece, if you're still finding yourself wanting.
And what about for pieces that we've already thrown and just removed and they have the clay spread out like that?
That you have to look at the how do you say this? You can turn it upside down, all right, okay, and still use the lines. Or if it is too widespread and then it's very crooked, we have to do the gauging from the side. Okay, so you turn it upside down, you put your tool right close to it, and then the parts that hits it will mean that you push that side away. Right? You don't do too much pushing. If it hits it, just push slightly. If you push more, you're going to be doing back and forth push all day. Alright? Okay. Any more? No? Yes?
Will you actually see this post glazing?
Yes.
These little ribs?
That's unless you're going to put so much thick glaze on it. Okay, we have some hour and some 30 minutes